Hey everybody, it's Off the Wall Prepper. So I've decided to share something I really never shared with the channel, and that's why I feel like the military has really stepped up my prepping game over the years. I was in the military in 1983. I joined in 1983, straight out of high school, and went to San Clemente Island. And we're going to be having the live stream here just in a few minutes. Um, but I kind of wanted to give you an intro to this new series that I'm doing. Like, really, how does the military come into play in my prepping and in my thinking and in just my life? So I am going to give you tonight some background information about San Clemente Island. And then this is going to be kind of a series that I'm going to be doing because there's so many things that I could talk about the military and how it affected my life and how it can step up your prepping game and hard lessons that I learned in the military. But just so you know, y'all can probably see right here, my board fell off the wall, but so these are some of the subjects that we're going to be discussing. And basically, let me see if I can turn it so y'all can see it. I think I should be able to. Let me see here. So there we go. I think we're focused on the board that way. So military and prepping, how it like kind of combines, and why I really feel that like if you're a first responder, if you've been in the military, you probably have skills that others haven't learned and that maybe you can share on your channel and teach people. You know, it's time for each one of us to step up because the things that are going on, the skills are going to be really important and more important than we could ever imagine. But like during boot camp, there was so many things that we learned. And that's one of the sections of this series is boot camp and how it relates to prepping, in my opinion, is strength and health and mindset. And then the second one is the gas chamber and also learning different skills that I learned and how the gas chamber comes into play, in my opinion, is gear. So I'm going to be talking about that in detail. And then accidents. Why accidents equal into prepping is first aid, fire, trauma, emergency preparedness, lots and lots in this number 3 series. And number 4 is instructions and pre-planning. Military and prepping, I think honestly, folks, the military and prepping kind of go hand in hand, because when you think and break down those elements of things that you go through in the military, you may be able to, even if you don't have a channel right now, I would encourage you to open a channel and talk about some of the things you learned in boot camp, when you were in the fleet, when you were in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, whatever it may be, right? Because those skills that you teach someone could save their lives. So I think that's like really important. I want to touch on a lot of different topics on this series. We're going to have 3 live streams and several mini videos in between, talking about some of these articles. Tonight, I want to go into why I joined the Navy, what the Navy, where I was stationed at was a very interesting place. Not a lot of people really know about it. No, it wasn't Garcia and it wasn't the Philippines. It was San Clemente Island, out in the Channel Islands off the coast of California. So it's one of the only active ballistic places that they really shoot up anymore. That's really close to the United States. I mean, they blow it up. It's called the Rock for a reason. There's millions and millions of dollars of aircraft that set off that runway. And I was there 1983 to 1989. And I seen a lot of military accidents, because when you were going into go on a carrier, you came for your last phase of training at San Clemente Island as a pilot to learn how to catch the wire. The wire being, you know, what they have on aircraft carriers so that you don't go out off the deck. But many of them missed, and many of them, those planes are stacked up out in the ocean off the coast of the island. But also, there's some other interesting factors about San Clemente Island, and I'm going to go into that right now. So, welcome to my military special, sharing something I really never have shared on this channel because the military did give me a couple things that will always be with me: scars and PTSD. And I went through some very traumatic situations in the military, such as someone dying in front of me, things of that sort. But I think that once you hear some of my military stories, that maybe you can apply them to your own prepping lifestyle, and that maybe, just maybe, you'll pick up some skills and learn something that you never thought of. So, welcome to the first live stream about my military background and why I went in the military and all that good stuff. So, uh, let's get on to the live. At the end of the live, I am going to open it up. So, if you have questions throughout, if you want to, for me to ask or answer your question right away, throw a sticker or a super chat or something so that I actually see it. If you want to wait till the end of the live, then I'll open it up for Q&A. I want people to take something from this, and I want people to learn because I learned a lot of hard lessons at a very young age. I joined when I was 17, graduated midterm from high school, and went straight into the Navy. And it was the first time I ever went out on my own in the big world, and I learned a lot. So I hope you all enjoy this special that I'm doing for the month of April, all based around the military. We will also have some military reports regarding Russia and Ukraine on this special. We're also going to be talking about some of the most advanced systems that the military has, from the drones to the helicopters to the planes. When I was in the Navy, I was on San Clemente Island. There's not very many military. So we played many roles, and I worked at the airfield. So I was at ABF, which is a aviation boatsman fuelie, and then also I was a signalman. Also, I was a firefighter, and sometimes I was the popo. So there was a lot of things that came into play. One of the biggest things that happened to me on San Clemente Island that was pretty phenomenal is this is when in 1985 when they were testing the Tomahawk missiles, and during that I was asked to go and set road guard. At that time, I did not know why I was setting road guard. Then after I sat road guard for 12 hours on one end of the island where people were not allowed, then they presented me with a documentation, a photo, and some other cool stuff that I'll be sharing on this series too. But I sat for the 1985 Tomahawk missile shot off the coast of California in the Channel Islands. And I have a pretty cool photo of it too from NOSC, from Naval Ocean Systems Center. So I really hope you all enjoy this part of my life that I've never really shared here on YouTube, and that hopefully we can all tune in on some skills or advance our skills as we go through this series. Welcome to OTWP, and welcome to Hard Life Lessons Learned Through the Military. Let's go. Hey, do me one favor while I got you still on here, real quick. Would you hit the thumbs up, smash it, share this out if you like this series, and invite people to come to this series. We're going to be having it every Thursday night for the next month, and it's going to be going into all these different subjects and real life stories. So, um, thanks a lot for being here. Let's talk.
So, good evening, everybody. I hope that was a nice intro to kind of give you a little bit of background about my military experience. But I wanted to talk in detail tonight. One, I'm going to kind of start with a couple things, and then I'm going to show you a little presentation that I'm going to kind of go through with you, show you some really cool photos and some information about San Clemente Island. I joined the Navy in 1983, and I think I was geared toward the Navy for a couple of reasons. One, my uncle served on the USS Arizona, and he was actually in Pearl Harbor, but he was not there when they bombed. the USS Arizona, but he was on it. And the big blue trunk that I have was his. That as he traveled around the world, that was something he left my mom, and now it's mine. But so I think he kind of led me toward the Navy because he was in the Navy. Also, I have a lot of military background in my family. My granddad was in World War II. He was in the Army. My cousin Bobby, and some of you that are old enough to remember this, when the last man came out of Vietnam, there was a picture of a H-1 helicopter, and there was a military army man getting in that helicopter. That man that was on the front of the New York Post, the Washington Post, the New York Times, I meant all over the world, was my first cousin, Bobby Oakley. And we did not ever know where Bobby was. He was really top secret, the missions he went on. So we have a lot of military in our family dating all the way back to the Civil War. So it's I think that it's just in my blood. I think it's in my blood, and I think it was in my blood to join the military. But San Clemente Island was I joined right out of high school. I was one of those kids that never really wanted to study. I was very bored in high school, and my junior year, I wanted to get out of Colorado, and I was like, I need to do something. I want to do something. I want to go somewhere. And so I went and talked to the Navy recruiter without my parents knowing. And I was at that time I was 16, and the Navy recruiter said you can join when you can actually go in when you're 17 on that year that you're going to be turning 18. And I was like, well, cool beans, because that's not too far away. So I went and told my mom and my dad that what I wanted to do. And then I went and talked to me and my mother went and talked to the administrator at the school, and they said, "Well, KJ, if you bring your grades up, you could graduate midterm and you could get shipped off early." And I was like, "Okay, this is even getting better." So I could get out of school. I could get out of school midterm, right? So I really got into the books and brought my grades up so I could get the hell out of there. And I just wanted to get out the world. I wanted to experience the world, and so I went ahead and I graduated midterm and I joined the Navy. And I was in the delayed entry program for about 6 months. And the delayed entry program gets you prepped for going into the military. I used to think that the military would be good for every single person coming out of high school because it did teach me a lot about how to get along with people of every background. I never was judgmental because it really opened my eyes to that it doesn't matter what color your skin is or what religion you are or nationality. There's a lot of good people in this world from all different walks of life. And I was brought up in rural Colorado and Nebraska. So, meeting all different kinds of people, Filipinos. Actually, folks, I'd only met two black people in my whole life until I was 18 years old. And so it was very eye opening for me, but it also taught me to take down a lot of barriers and to become the person that I am now 40 years later, right? So, I think that the military teaches a lot of good things because when you join boot camp at that time, it was 8 weeks now, some are 12, but it teaches you a lot of self discipline. And a lot of men and women don't make it through the first week of boot camp. They just don't. They won't listen. They come in with dirty UAs, dirty urinalysis. They're unhealthy. They're not willing to try harder. And I think one big thing I took from the military is the mental. If you really put your mind to it, you can do anything. And I think that's why prepping it can be done by anybody. It doesn't matter if you're 3 years old or 7 years old or 20 or 100. Prepping can be done by anybody to prepare yourself for a bad time. It is, Ron. It's definitely the melting pot of all cultures, and it was really a good experience for me. I got to try all different kinds of food. People would make soul food, which got me hooked on all kinds of soul food. People would cook Southern food. People would cook Filipino food. I really enjoyed that a lot about the military. But I remember my first day in boot camp and flew out of Denver and went into Orlando, which was mixed boot camp, men and women at the time in 1983 and 84. which there's no base there anymore. But I remember that first day because I was scared shitless. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I signed up for?" Right? And it was the Navy. I can't imagine like the Marine Corps and some of the other services that are even rougher back then. Then it's changed a lot over the years. But San Clemente, I went to North Island. Did boot camp, and then I got stationed on San Clemente Island. And San Clemente Island is a very unique place. It's one of the Channel Islands. It sets the closest to Mexico, and it's right off the coast of California. Um, I got, let me see, I made a little presentation to show y'all some info about San Clemente Island, which is pretty dang cool. Um, so this is a picture of San Clemente Island that it's about 28 miles long. The part that we're seeing on the left-hand side of the screen is where the airfield's at, and that's where I spent most of my time when I was on San Clemente Island. I did work at the airfield, and it was very, very interesting because we worked 24-hour shifts sometimes. Sometimes we stayed down there for 48 hours, and we had a little bunkhouse that we lived in. Had a kitchen and a little living room and two bunk rooms, one for the guys and one for the girls. And it was very, very interesting to be down there. A real quick story just to kind of get everybody started on a couple military stories that I'm going to tell. I remember one night we were doing fueling and we were bringing in a lot of aircraft that night, and somebody said there's a problem with A6 that's coming in, and I was like, wow, okay. Well, they didn't need me on the crew to go fuel, so I climbed to the top of the line shack building, and I remember sitting there, and I was just 18 years old at the time, and here comes this plane, and it's coming in, and it loses its left mount, it loses its right mount. It comes in on its nose, and the nose gear flies up and over the top, and all you see is sparks that were flying about 30 to 50 feet high. It was something. There was sparks and flames shooting all the way down the runway. I'll never forget it because I hadn't been in the military very long. I think I was maybe in the military at that time just a couple months, so I was fresh out of boot camp and wet behind the ears, as you say in the Navy. So that was a really interesting thing to see that quick in the Navy. Now, there you can see a really good picture of the runway. And the interesting thing is, pilots came there, and you can see on both ends of the runway, it's very steep. It's a beautiful island, not very big, but it sets, if you go to Catalina Island, it's the only way you'll ever see San Clemente Island, is you have to go to Catalina Island. They're off the coast of California, and then you can see it. But the thing is that runway is where I spent most of my time, and so they would come in and they would practice. It was called CCPs and or CCAs, CCPs, I believe, and they would practice landing on our runway. And when they landed on the runway, they'd be very, very close to the right edge over there. You can see that it was just rocks going down. Well, there's a lot of planes. There's millions and millions of dollars worth of planes there off that coast because they would miss the wire, known as AKA the catapult. In the Navy, we called it the wire. And they would miss and they would dump the plane right into the ocean. Down there at the far left-hand side on the back right where you see that patch, that was our hot pit crew. And when I say hot pit is they would come in and the plane engines would still be going, and that's where we would fuel them at. And so I have a really funny story that'll probably make you all smile and laugh. And this is just a real quick story. So I was only an E. I got meritoriously advanced, so I moved up in the ranks very quickly. Right, I went from a E1. Before I even joined, I was a E2 because I got somebody else to join the Navy, so that promoted me automatically to E2. And then I got meritoriously advanced coming out of boot camp to E3, which is, that's pretty quick for an enlisted person. I was headed to E4. And so the old chief, the first class, well, the chief wasn't there that night. The first class was there, right? And he said, all right, you're going down there and you're in charge of the crew. And well, I'm shit. I'm brand new out of boot camp. But he was looking at my stripes that I was at E3 already, and I'm thinking, oh shit. And I was like, sir, I haven't been here very long. He went, well, go ahead. You got it. You got it. Oh, okay. So I'm in charge of three people. I'm at E3, fresh out of boot camp. Literally, folks, I think I've been on the island a week or two when this happened. I had so many things happen on the island. I can tell stories all night long about the island. So he sends me down there, and everything's going good. And I had taken a training class about the hot pit crew. Well, there's two buttons. One says fire, and one says crash. And well, all of a sudden, fuel starts dumping out of this H-1 helicopter. It's sitting there with its door open. The officer had stepped out of the helicopter, and he's standing right there in front of the door. And fuel starts coming out. Now I know that I'm supposed to get the fire truck down there, but I panic, and I don't know if I'm supposed to be hitting crash or fire. Well, if it's a crash, I really didn't know. Those are very similar words, crash or fire. I mean, to me, they both had led the same direction, but silly me, I picked the button. I had a 50-50 chance, and well, the 50-50 went backwards. So as I hit the button, we have a big hydraulic valve that shot out this beautiful foam everywhere, thousands of gallons of it. So I hit that button and the hydraulic system went off. The crash truck didn't come. It was crash for the crash truck, fire for the pump. I chose the wrong one, and that thing started spraying that officer as he's standing there with his his jaw dropped. And so I have one more option, and that's grab the pin. Grab the pin and pull the pin out of that hydraulic and aim it downward so it doesn't get him. Y'all, I grabbed that sucker, and at that time I weighed about 130 pounds. That thing picked me up off the ground and shook me around like a rag doll, and tossed me around until I fell off of it. I thought I was riding a bucking bull, and and so I fell to the ground, and I looked up, and boy, you could tell he was pissed. He was one pissed off man. He was drenched from head to toe, right? And I just smiled. And here comes the MPs, and they take me away, and I have to go to medical to get a urinalysis to make sure I wasn't drugged up. So, needless to say, I wasn't on drugs. It was just I shouldn't have been down there in charge of a crew when I just got put in the Navy. I was brand new, but I didn't get written up. They tried to start to write me up, and then the chief and the first class ended up really getting it from our commanding officer. But it was great. I was setting up in medical while everybody else was scrubbing out the helicopter. And when I came back, they were like, "Man, do you know what happened?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm the one that pushed the button." so so needless to say, uh that was how my Navy days started out. And I was fresh out of boot camp, so I'd only been in the military, going on 3 months, had a little leave and stuff like that. But I'll never forget that, about my first couple months there in San Clemente Island. Now San Clemente Island has is right off the coast. You can see it there. You can see Catalina, and you can see San Clemente. It's almost directly across from San Diego. So actually, I had dual barracks. I had one in North Island, and then which is on Coronado. Couldn't pick a better place to live, right in San Diego. And then we had our barracks out in San Clemente Island, and we had great duty. We worked 4 days on and 5 days off, and then 5 days on and 4 days off. So it was awesome. No, actually, Simon, I didn't get any extra PT over that. Here's a beautiful picture of San Clemente Island. It is gorgeous. There's a couple scientific phenomenons that happen out on San Clemente Island, and I just happened to be there the year that it only happened about every 10 years, right? So, very weird. There's a lot of ice plant that grows all over the island. Actually, the last 5 years, I've been watching the island, and there's a lot of conservative conservation groups going out there and getting rid of this invasive ice plant that just goes wild. And you can see it there on this left-hand side of this picture as it goes up the hill. But what would happen is it would actually get invaded about every 10 years with mice so thick that the year I was there, they were actually climbing up onto our bunks. And I'll never forget it. It was, I'm not a rodent fan. And so you would actually have to tuck your blankets and stuff, your wool blanket in around your feet and around your sides, because these mice would, you would wake up and there'd be mice looking at you as you're sleeping. It was really bizarre. Yeah, Coronado is very beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous place and a great place to live and to stay. But I really enjoyed my time on the island. Now, this is the very interesting part about San Clemente Island. San Clemente Island is considered the batshit crazy part of SEAL training. It is the very last phase of SEAL training. And some of the shit they do to these guys, I got to witness. I got to talk to these guys at the chow hall, and it was very interesting. Um, so just 60 miles off the coast, 21 nautical miles straight off is San Clemente Island. They call it a wasteland known as San Clemente Island. It makes up the southern tip of California's Channel Islands, and it is, well, it's hell for the guys that come out there, right? It is really hell for them. And they spend, I think, I can't remember how many weeks they spend out there. Out of their 26 weeks, that's where their last phase is. They go from to Bud's camp out there, and when they go to Bud's camp, there is no brass there to save them. No officers can rescue them. What is going to happen to them? So it's very interesting. Oh, this is the Tomahawk. I'm going to go a little bit more into that, but this is the Tomahawk shot that I actually found an article on, and the Tomahawk missile shot that I sat on. It was one of the first cruise missile shots. It was launched from a submarine over 400 miles away, and it hit its target. And folks, I have the pictures of that. That was given to me as um, setting road guard 12 hours. They gave me that. Here's the actual explosion that day when it happened, and that was really something. So they had different buildings set up. And so when this Tomahawk missile came in off the coast, I'm sitting there and I could hear something in the air, but I really didn't know why I was even sitting there for road guard. So the next day, the head of NOSC, Naval Ocean Systems Center, came up to me. He said, "Come here, we got something for you." So he gave me an actual photo, and I have a photo. That is an actual building that you're seeing blowing up right there. And I actually have a photo with cameras where you can actually see the Tomahawk missile part in the building, part out of the building. And so they had photo ops set up everywhere with different cameras so that they could photograph the whole thing, and they had video cameras of it. So this is one of the pictures from that, but I'm going to show the one that I have too, which is really, really interesting. Um, the next day, that's when I found out why I was setting road guard for 12 hours. I had no idea. I knew that that end of the island, which was the far end of the island, had sand dunes, and there was a lot of underground bunkers there. And I knew that we could never, ever go to that part of the island. If you got caught going to that part of the island, you immediately were dispatched from that island and you would not be there any longer. There was a couple guys that went snorkeling and they decided to be nosy and they disappeared off the island, never to be seen again. So there was something very secretive going on there, other than buds. A lot of NOS people were out there, so that was very interesting. And you would meet these people at the Chow Hall. We had one building on the far end of the island, and on the far end of that island, there was one building, there was a couple bunkhouses, our chow hall. And then in the one building, we had a bowling alley, a restaurant, a TV room, and a little library. And that was it. Oh, we had a little game room, but it was like in the library. So when you were going to the bar to get food, you would also meet these people, and you're like, "Where'd this person come from? I never seen this person before." And so there was a lot of funny duddy stuff going on out on San Clemente Island. And there still is to this day. And I'm about to show one of the new things that's happening. This is the new thing that's happening on San Clemente Island. This city got erected on one far end of the island in 2017. Now that's way after my time, but this is a new part of Bud's final training. And what they do is they actually go into this makeshift town and they have battles. So pretty cool. I found some pretty cool, interesting stuff about San Clemente Island and the new phase of Bud training. And you can see here, it's set up just like a town. so they can actually go in like they are going in for rescues and things like that. So this is a new part of their training out there, which I thought was very interesting. So that's why I brought it up, and you can see a really good picture there of the town. Yes, yes. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. Why they call San Clemente Island a batshit crazy. Okay, so given that Bud's instructors only have about 3.5 weeks left to make a final determination regarding a trainee's fitness to become a full-fledged Navy SEAL, that's what Bud's is all about. And there was some really interesting things. Um, there has been numerous accidents on San Clemente Island, and I have to admit I was involved in about 3 or 4 of them out on the island. So, but one of them that comes to mind is the surf zone out there is really treacherous. It's known for big surf, cold water. In fact, there's been numerous fatalities occurred at the island years back because the trainees from Buds would be immersed into the water. They'd have to do a 5.5 nautical mile swim, which used to be held at Clemente, and later they switched it around. Many of them died right there on San Clemente Island from hypothermia because the water's so freaking cold, so cold. And then on top of that, the water and the surf area are no freaking joke. Like we went snorkeling there a few times, and it was a very dangerous situation. Um, but another example is some of the best students in the class that were swimming ashore through the surf zone with fins on. A giant wave caught this guy. It turned him over numerous times. It caught his fin on the bottom and snapped his leg in half, y'all. He was lucky that he was near the end of the training and he limped literally through the rest of the week so that he could graduate, and he made it. Another uh, crazy story, right, is that during Bud's training, it's basically there's hazing still going on, especially with Navy SEALs, right? That's just part of them. They're badasses. So one of the trainees thought he'd be a cocky smart aleck, and he did not like his class leader, and so they got into it. But little did he know that the guy was a jitsu instructor, and it got really nasty. There was a lot of fights out there, a lot of fights and a lot of crazy things that happen out on the island. Um, but it does bring back wonderful, fun, crazy memories of those times. That's for sure. Um, I was at ABF. I think you missed the very beginning, Elaine. I kind of did a 9-minute video about what I did. I was at ABF. I was an aviation boatsman and fuelie, but because the island was so small, military wise, I had different hats that I wore. One of my favorite jobs, y'all, was signaling aircraft. That was probably one of my favorite things that I did. Um, and it was a very good experience. I learned a lot from it, and I enjoyed it. I had a lot of bad things happen, and I am going to go into some of those horrific stories of things that happened to me out there. I have a lot of funny stories, but I have some very bad stories, and that's why I have PTSD. Here's another pretty cool shot of the island. But I think the biggest thing that I can say, if you're worried about your child getting drafted or something like that, I think that the military still brings the same thing it's brought for decades and decades, which is to build a strong character in a person. It really teaches you that no matter what the situation is at hand, is that really we can go forward, that we don't have to be scared or intimidated by what's around us, because the military definitely teaches you how to adapt to your surroundings, how to overcome obstacles, and how to overcome this shitty stinking thinking that we all get into sometimes. So I think that, don't get caught up that your child might get drafted. If anything, get caught up in the experience they could have. Because, yes, I don't believe that the wars and things like that are for the middle class and the poor. We're the fighters, right? We're the fighters. The rich get richer, and the poor and the middle class end up with casualties and limbs missing and things of that sort. Um, I know that I brought a lot from the military. Dragonfly sometimes looks at me and she goes, "Why do you still do that?" And she's finally quit saying that to me because she's realized it's from the military. I do have PTSD from the military. I also have partial hearing loss, and that's why this headphone that I wear often helps me. Because otherwise I get extremely, extremely loud, and Dragonflies wants to kick my ass. But you know, I took a lot of good things. I took the bad things and I turned them around to good. Um, when I was in the Navy, and I am going to talk about one of the accidents that happened to me. Um, I had a lot of experiences. I don't call them all accidents, but this one could have cost me my life. So I was pinning an F-14, and when you're pinning an F-14 and chalking it, you're putting bricks, for you that are civilians that don't have any idea of the terminology I'm using. Chocks are bricks that you lay in front and back of each tire, and it keeps the plane from rolling. And then we also had pins, and they were long metal pins, and we had to go up underneath the aircraft when we were chalking it. And you were pretty close to the intake of the engines that were not shut down. And you had to pin so that the struts would not collapse. And so I was under there. And I got a little disoriented, and which was easy to do. The motors are roaring in your head, and you're new, and your adrenaline's pumping, and you're trying to learn things, and you really have hands on now. You're not in school where it's a safe zone and the plane's turned off and you're pinning and chalking, right? This is a real plane, a multi-million dollar plane, that it's your responsibility to do the right thing. So I did the chalking fine, and I'm under there with another guy of my first class because he was training me. And I got disoriented, and I put one of the pins in. And when I came up, I was in front of the intake, and the motor was going. The engine was going. It sucked me up off the ground, sucked my helmet up off my head, and one ear was exposed. And so I have hearing damage from that. But I thank God to this day. I was only 18 at the time, and he grabbed me by my knees and pulled me back to the ground. During school and boot camp, a school, they actually showed us videos of guys that came up like that weren't as lucky as I was that day. I was truly blessed because a lot of times you'll come up in front of that intake of a F4 or a 14, and you're going to get sucked in and spit out the back like chopped liver, or get a leg or an arm or whatever amputated because of it. And so I was very, very blessed that day that first class had his eye on me like that. And I'll never forget that. I had a lot of very unusual things happen, and a lot of things happen where it really made you think quickly on your feet. And I think when you take those military experiences and put them into your life about prepping, it really does come into play. Because another runway situation that I was involved in, I was just in the wrong place at the right at the time. But a helicopter came in, and when they came in, it was really windy that day, and they were having a hard time landing. And so as they landed, they went sideways on us. And when I say sideways, they scooped to the side. It was a H-1 helicopter on skis. So it has two skis. It doesn't have wheels. It has two skis. They used them a lot during Vietnam. And so this helicopter comes in, and it's super windy. And at that time, I was behind an NC-8, which is a battery machine that jumps helicopters and planes to get them started again. And I seen it start to bounce to the side and bounce to the side, and I hit the deck. And when I hit the deck, it turned sideways and it hit the deck. And when it hit the deck, it was like hundreds and hundreds of razor blades flying everywhere in the air. Some of the parts of the blades of the props were 2, 3 foot long. Some of them were just, I mean, I'm talking tiny, tiny. So it was a very scary situation. None of us got hurt. None of us that were out on the deck that day got hurt. But I'll tell you what, our guts were on that ground quicker than quick. And so, I seen a lot of things when I was in the military. I learned a lot. And I think that this new series that I would like to bring to the channel is going to be different. There's a lot of different parts of this new series that I'm going to bring to you here in April. Every Thursday night, I think we'll do it all via live stream with little mini videos in the live. Different skills I've learned, different things about the gas chamber, about uh, when you go in that gas chamber, not being able to see anything around you, but yet this chemical hits you in the face, and how to don that equipment properly, how to dispose of equipment properly, and how to take care of trauma situations, including your own mental stability, which is going to be huge. I hope that you all enjoyed this tonight. Um, and if anybody has any questions for me at this time, I'll sure answer them if I can. I have a lot of military stories I can tell. Dragonflies wants me to tell another funny military story. So I will tell another funny one. Well, this is a brief one. It's funny though. Um, I would do it all again, Elaine. I'm a very proud veteran, and I still believe in the red, white, and blue, even if we've screwed up, right? So I'm going to tell a funny one, and this is hilarious. So we're running planes side by side within feet of each other. We had you could see the airfield there. It was very small. So I served from 1983 to 1989, milk and honey. Straight out of high school. Y'all are asking me questions so quickly. So this is a funny, quick one. Hold your questions for just 1 minute, okay? Um, So we're running helicopters, planes, and commercial planes all together. Our airfield was packed wing to wing to wing. We had special events going on. We had the Navy Seabees there. We had building construction. We had so much going on that week. And so it had been running like that all week long. And overall, it was pretty smooth. But usually we only had one signalman. But because we were so busy, we had three signalmen, and we were bringing them in and we would hand them off to another person. So I was the person out there with the flashlights, right? Or hand signals. And so this old Navy pilot, he comes in a F-14, and he would not listen to nobody. He's looking at our stripes. He's an officer. He knows everything. He's not going to listen to you because he's an officer and you're enlisted. So he's coming down the runway, and he gets to the landing and where we have to start maneuvering him in. The first guy tries to get him to stop, and he doesn't even listen to him. He just goes right by him. Second guy gets him to stop, but then he won't listen to him where to turn. And I was watching all this, and I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to be great. I'm the one parking him on the deck. And I already knew this was coming. I knew he wasn't going to listen. I actually had a wing spotter because we were parking those planes roughly 2 to 3 feet away from each other, which was very unusual for our island. To get them that close was a task, because you got helicopters coming in, you got H-46s, which are the double prop helicopters, you got A2s with the big spy scoop on the top, you got all different kinds. We had little Cessnas out there. I mean, we had every kind of plane on the deck that day that you can imagine. So this old asshole, he just would not listen for nothing. He gets to me, and I tell him to stop so I could get my wingman over there to walk with him to make sure he doesn't hit another multi-million-dollar plane. Well, he just basically tells me screw off, and he keeps coming forward. I jump right in front of his plane while it's going. Right in front of it, he's coming real slow toward me. I step right out in front of him. I tell him to stop, which is this signal right here, right? This is stop. And then he just shook his head like F you. So I told him, and this is the sign. I put my hand like this and pulled my hand out, and it means pull your head out of your ass, all eyes on me. Well, I didn't know I really wasn't supposed to use that. They taught us in school. I didn't know it was a joke. I didn't know we weren't supposed to say that to an officer. But I was like, this is my runway and this is my deck, and we better get this shit right. And boy, he got out of that plane. He started to chew me upside down. And behind me, I hear this deep old man's voice. And I was like, oh shit, that is our commander over the whole island. and he taps me on the shoulder and he said, "Way to tell him." And I said, "Oh shit." So he went up there to that officer, he tore him a new one, and needless to say, I walked off smiling. But it was one of those situations where, you know, it was our airfield, it was our runway, and more than once I did fall down from crashes and things like that. Um, what kind of helicopter was that OTWP? Which one? What do you mean? Which helicopter? We had every kind of helicopter you can imagine out there, Bougie. When I got medevaced off the island, which is another story, I flew on a H-46, but I also flew on a H-1. H-1s were the Hueys. I think that's what you're talking about. And the Hueys are the ones that were used in Vietnam. I rode with a crazy, crazy pilot, and I'm going to hold some of these stories back for another night. But I also want to bring the gear, the drama, the accidents, and some down to earth things that hopefully maybe you all can learn from. The military was a very good experience for me. I took some bad things from it. I did. I'm not going to say I didn't. I do have PTSD. I have hearing loss. I have a knee injury, which y'all know about. And a lot of those stemmed from that, especially the PTSD. It did stem from the military. But when you're only 18 years old and you see someone perish in front of you and you hold their hand while they take their last breath, it does do something to you. It does. And I've learned to get through it. Yeah, I'm gonna pull out some of the pictures, Elaine, of me in uniform in my old dungarees with my blue shirt on or my white t-shirts because we didn't wear our dress uniforms very often because we worked. We were working. We were the working class out there. We were dirty all the time, especially working around planes. And yes, I did find all the pictures, Milk and Honey, and so I'm gonna show you some of those. I'm gonna show you a lot of things and talk to you about a lot of things with this series. So every Thursday night, we're gonna have the military taught me, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I have a lot to bring to the table when it comes to this subject. Oh, it was a H1. It was a H1 bougie. The one that hit on the side and flipped and the blades went every one. It was a H1. So it was definitely something, that's for sure. Yeah, I seen that. I seen that. Hey, Elaine. Oh, those were the days. You walked in uniform and you left with any chick in the bar. That's the truth, though. It is the truth. Boy, you couldn't have more fun than being in the Navy. The Navy is known for a few things: tattoos and drunks. And boy, did we party. We did. We partied hard. Uh, but I had a really good time and I learned a lot from the military. And I think the biggest thing that I learned is to never to have fear, and to keep going forward no matter what. Because the military really breaks you down when you're in boot camp and it builds you back up. And when they build you back up and you see 80 men or women marching together, it is something. And the first week, everybody's stepping on each other. People don't know their left from their right. People are nervous. And by the end of the fourth or fifth week, it's like a working machine. And I think the camaraderie amongst military people is something you can never ever find again. It's one of those things that when you go through boot camp and you go out into the fleet or into the Marine Corps, the camaraderie is unbelievable. And I think when all shiznick breaks down in the United States, I think that a lot of military people will step to the plates as true patriots. I think that's why they are after certain things with military so that we cannot purchase our Second Amendment and things of that sort. But I think the biggest thing, folks, is that we have to keep putting our boots on the ground literally. And I say that often, and I think I picked that up from the military is put your boots on the ground. And when I say that, I mean don't, don't get caught on stupid. Keep doing the things that matter. And your prepping journey is different than mine and Dragonfly's. Elaine's is probably different than Patty's or Susan's. And the thing is, folks, is that we can all make it through it because we're a lot stronger than we give ourselves. We're a lot stronger. Oh yeah, I got a lot of pictures, Bougie. Make sure Sam Tor comes to the next one. I'm going to be showing a lot of my pictures from the old days, and I'm looking forward to it. Um, I hope that you all enjoyed tonight. Thank you for being here, and thanks for listening, and thanks for being part of the OTWP Mag. Big, huge prepper hugs to everybody. Yeah, yeah, Brandy, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Really, Susan, that's freaking awesome because there's a lot of men and women that come out of the military that have PTSD. And over the years, when I first got PTSD, it was very hard on me, and I am going to go into a special about that. Uh, I think the next one we'll talk about PTSD and also look at some old pictures if y'all would like that. Ah, that's very cool, Milk and Honey. You're welcome. You're welcome. I think, if you're worried about your son or daughter, though, folks, going into the military, prep them up for the military because you're not going to be able to stop it if they get drafted, right? You have PTSD also. The nightmares used to be terrible, Susan. My flashbacks used to be really bad. Glad you enjoyed it, Tab. Nice to see you all. Um, I'm glad everybody's here. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show, but I am going to bring out the OTWP dancers to dance us on out. God bless you all from here in the Ozarks to wherever you're at in this big happy world. I hope everybody has a great night. Oh, and I forgot to even put it up. I had a special thing going on tonight. If anybody wants to do it, you're still able to until it ends. Tonight and every Thursday night, if you buy one of our handmade paracord bracelets, they're $10. You get one paracord bracelet free shipping. If you do a $20 super chat, you get three paracord bracelets, one with a ferro rod, whistle, and compass. And then whatever money we raise on Thursday nights, I'm taking part of it and giving it 50% of it to the VFW or Wounded Warriors. I haven't decided which one. I'd like to help the VFW because they're struggling here in the Ozarks. So I would like to help them be able to keep going and doing their programs that they're doing. So we're going to give 50% of that money to the VFW here in the Ozarks to help them. So all the paracord bracelets are made by me and Dragonflies. And if you'd like to do a super chat during this live stream only, that's how I'm going to thank you for doing a super chat. And it's $10 for one or $20 and you get three, and it's free shipping. And on the 3-pack, you do get two basics, and then you get one with the cool, the whistle, the compass, and the ferro rod that's in the snap-on part of the bracelet. So thank you everybody for being here. I'm going to go ahead and let our OTWP dancers come in and dance our way out. God bless you from here in the Ozarks to wherever you're at in this big happy world. Make every day count and keep doing the dang things that matter. And your prepping journey is different than mine and different than different people um, around the country. And so thank you, She's a Wildflower. Make sure you follow the instructions and please send me an email with if you want man, women's bracelets, children's bracelets, any specific colors. We have so many colors. I'll try to accommodate, but we can work on that behind the scenes in an email, okay? Please email me at offthewallprepper@gmail. Thank you, She's a Wildflower. And we'll get those out to you right away. If anybody else would like to do it on this last song, here comes the OTWP dancers, the new, improved, kind of crazy ones, but they're fun. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Take everything we got, give it an honest shot, turning it on and off, whipping and sliding, riding the highest dream, keeping the fire real. I call for you. Hold your gun, cut the wire, aim desire, hold your gun, caught the wire. Aim for desire, hold your gun, caught the wire. Aim for desire, hold your gun, caught the wire. Aim for desire. I've been flying up the ceiling, taken by this feeling. Baby, we're invincible at last. Fueling every engine, power is descending. Baby, we're invincible. Hold your gun, cut the wire. Aim for fire, with the lights of fire. I've been flying up the ceiling, taken by this feeling. Baby, we're invincible. Hold your gun, cut the wire. Aim for desire. Hold your gun, cut the wire. Aim for desire. Hold your gun, cut the wire. Aim for desire. Hold your gun, cut the wire. Aim for desire. I've been flying off the ceiling, taken by this feeling. Baby, we're invincible.
My soul got the same on my necklace, bitch.